Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at Every Man Out of His Humour by Ben Jonson. And today we are tackling Act 3. Yes, we're doing this in almost a neat fashion where we're, by accident, not design, we're actually doing an act per session. And yeah, in its entirety, which actually structurally is quite helpful with this play. I mean, originally we were going to be dancing around and stopping in quite random places. But no, we're just going to crack on and do an act at a time. Approximately. It's because the stage is never technically empty. Technically, in the sense that there's only one scene, arguably. I'm not going to make that argument. That would be madness. Anyway, to continue our journey through this play, trying to decide how to cut it, because we have to cut about 50% of this play to actually put it on a stage, we are continuing our journey with this wonderful room of readers. We're going to be doubling rather a lot. Hopefully it will all come across and make sense. Reading today, Fungoso, Carlo, Saviolina, and rustic number 4 is...
Briony Sparrow, actor in Lincolnshire.
Reading Macilente, shift, and rustic number 3 is...
Sarah Blake, actor, writer, and director in Germany.
Reading Cordatus, Sogliardo, and rustic number 2 is...
Lynn Freitas, I'm a college composition teacher. I'm coming to you from the northwestern United States.
Reading Mitis, Deliro, Orange, Tailor, Cinedo, and rustic number 1 is...
Hello, Dan, actor based in Montpellier, France.
Most likely to clash with himself in conversation. Reading Fallace, Puntarvolo, and Sordido, but not a rustic, is...
D40, so I don't go rustic.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions. I'm also, unfortunately, reading Clove, and I'm also reading Fastidious Brisk, so this could be interesting. So, without further ado, we're going to dive into Act 3. Lots of stuff has sort of happened. The plot, in terms of an active plot, hasn't really quite fully emerged yet, but we've met an awful lot of very humorous, in a technical term there, humorous characters, in so much as they are full of humours, and every man is out of his humour in so many different ways, and we're going to see how that develops here in Act 3. Here we have the entrance of Cavalier Shift with 2 sequoias in his hand.
Stay, what new mute is this that walks so suspiciously?
Oh, Mary, this is one for whose better illustration we must desire you to presuppose the stage, the middle aisle of St. Paul's, and that the west end of it.
So, sir, what follows?
Faith, the whole volume of humour and worthy the unclasping.
As how? What name do you give him first?
He hath shift of names, sir. Some call him Apple John, and some Senior Whiff. Mary, his main standing name is Cavalier Shift. The rest are but as clean shirts to his natures.
And what makes he in Paul's now?
Troth, as you see, for the advancement of a sequence or 2, wherein he has so varied himself that if any of them take, he may hull up and down in the humorous world a little longer.
It seems then he bears a very changing sail.
Oh, as the wind, sir. Here comes more.
This is rare. I have set up my bills without discovery.
Enter Orange.
Ha! Senior Whiff, what fortune has brought you into these west parts?
Truth, signor, nothing but your room. I have been taking an ounce of tobacco hard by here with a gentleman, and I am come to spit private in Paul's. Save you, sir.
Adieu, good Senior Whiff.
And Orange passes onwards. Enter Clove. Ah, Master Applejohn, you are well met. When shall we sup together and laugh and be fat with those good wenches? Huh?
Faith, sir, I must leave you now upon a few humours and occasions, but when you please, sir.
Exit shift. Oh, farewell, sweet Applejohn. Oh, I wonder there are no more store of gallants here.
What be these two, Senior?
Marry, a couple, sir, that were mere strangers to the whole scope of our play, only come to walk a turn or two in this scene of Paul's, by chance.
Save you, good Master Clove.
Oh, sweet Master Orange.
How? Clove and orange?
Aye, they are well met, for 'tis as dry an orange as ever grew. Nothing but salutation, and oh Lord, sir, it pleases you to say so, sir, one that can laugh at a jest for company with the most plausible and extemporal grade, and some hour after, in private, ask you what it was. The other Monsieur, Clove, is the more spiced youth. He will sit you a whole afternoon, sometimes in a bookseller's shop, reading the Greek, Italian, and Spanish, when he understands not a word of either. If he had the tongues to his suits, he were an excellent linguist.
Oh, do you hear this reported for certainty?
Oh, Lord, sir.
And we move on into what some call Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Puntarvolo and Carlo, followed by two serving men, one leading a dog, the other bearing a bag.
Sirrah, take my cloak, and you, Sir Knave, follow me closer. Thou losest my dog, thou shalt die a dog's death. I will hang thee.
Tut, fear him not. He's a good lean slave. He loves a dog well, I warrant him. I see by his looks. Aye. Mass, he's somewhat like him. Slud, poison him, make him away with a crooked pin or somewhat, man. Thou mayest have more security of thy life, and so, sir, what? You have not put out your whole venture yet, have you?
No, I do want yet some 15 or 1600 pounds. But my lady, my wife, is out of her humour. She does not now go.
No? How then?
Marry, I'm now enforced to give it out upon the return of myself, my dog, and my cat.
Your cat? Where is she?
My squire has her there in the bag. Sirrah, look to her. How likest thou my change, Carlo?
Oh, for the better, sir. Your cat has 9 lives, and your wife has but 1.
Besides, she will never be seasick, which will save me so much in conserves. When saw you Signor Sogliardo?
I came from him but now. He is at the Herald's office yonder. He requested me to go afore and take up a man or two for him in St. Paul's against his cognizance was ready.
What, has he purchased arms, then?
Aye, and rare ones too, of as many colours as e'er you saw any fool's coat in your life. I'll go look among yon bills, and I can fit him with legs to his arms.
With legs to his arms? Good! I'll go with you, sir.
And indeed they do. They go to read the bills. Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Fastidious Brisk, Deliro, and Macilente. Come, let's walk in Mediterrano. I assure you, sir, I am not the least respected among ladies, but let that pass. Do you know how to go into the presence, sir?
Why, on my feet, sir.
No, on your head, sir, for 'tis that must bear you out, I assure you, as thus, sir. You must first have an especial care so to wear your hat, that it oppress not confusedly this, your predominant, or foretop, because when you come at the presence door, you may, with once or twice, stroking up your forehead, thus enter with your predominant perfect, that is, standing up stiff.
As if one were frightened.
Aye, sir.
Which indeed a true fear of your mistress should do, rather than gum water or white of eggs. Is not so, sir?
An ingenious observation. Give me leave to crave your name, sir.
His name is Macilente, sir.
Good, Signor Macilente. If this gentleman, Signor Deliro, furnish you, as he says he will, with clothes, I will bring you tomorrow by this time into the presence of the most divine and acute lady in court. You shall see sweet, silent rhetoric and dumb eloquence speaking in her eye, but when she speaks herself, such an anatomy of wit, so signwised and archrized, that 'tis the goodliest model of pleasure that ever was to behold. Oh, she strikes the world into admiration of her. Oh, I cannot express them, believe me.
No, your only admiration is your silence, sir.
Oh, God, Carlo, this is good. Let's read them again. If there be any lady or gentlewoman of good carriage that is desirous to entertain her private uses, a young, straight, and upright gentleman of the age of 5 or 26 at the most, who can serve in the nature of a gentleman usher, and hath little legs of purpose, and a black satin suit of his own to go before her in, which suit, for the more sweetening, now lies in lavender, and can hide his face with her fan, if need require, or sit in the cold at the stair foot for her, as well as another gentleman, let her subscribe her name and place, and diligent respect shall be given. This is about measure excellent, huh?
No, this. Here's a fine slave. If this city, or the suburbs of the same, do afford any young gentleman of the first, second, or third head, more or less, whose friends are but lately deceased, and whose lands are but new come into his hands, that, to be as exactly qualified as the best of our ordinary gallants are, is affected to entertain the most gentlemanlike use of tobacco, as first to give it the most exquisite perfume, then to know all the delicate sweet forms for the assumption of it, as also the rare corollary and practice of the Cuban ebullition, Euripus and whiff, which he shall receive or take in here at London, and evaporate at Uxbridge, or farther if it please him, if there be any such generous spirit that is truly enamoured of these good faculties, may it please him but by a note of his hand to specify the place or ordinary where he uses to eat and lie, and most sweet attendance with tobacco and pipes of the best sort shall be ministered. Stet queso candide lector.
Why, this is without parallel, this.
Well, I'll mark this fellow for Sogliardo's use presently.
Rather, Sogliardo for his use.
Faith, either of them will serve. They are both good properties. I'll design the other a place too, that we may see him.
No better place than the mitre, that we may be spectators with you.
And we're just going to pause there. So yeah, we have a street scene. We've got some notice board action. Let's sit and read out the advertisements. Some of which are more proper than others, shall we say? Yeah, we've had it. I once again we have that sort of meta thing of going, who are those two people coming on? Oh, there's some bit parts. You don't need to worry about them. They won't be on for long. And then explaining at great length the joke of Clove and Orange. It's just once again, possibly cake and eating it a bit there, Ben. I just like the that they flag that up of just every time there's something happens, it's just flagging up the trope or the convention that is happening on stage. I quite enjoy some of that. Lynn, were you waving?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's like, what is the point of Clove and Orange? What even? Why is that there? Do they come back?
They do return. Don't worry.
Okay.
They weren't just for that bit. And I think the nature of this scene is there's going to be a lot of sort of, again, shifting action. Lots of people wandering in and out of focus. So we've already had sort of people going off reading the bills while other people go down to the and have their moment in front of the stage. And Fastidious sort of once again demonstrating his the importance of clothes and his willingness to take anyone to court as long as they've got decent clobber on. Otherwise, no chance, not happening. Alan.
I'm just wondering whether Jonson was into foraging, because he seems to have picked up some dodgy fungi somewhere.
I don't know. It's a slice of life. This is the kind of things you see in the streets and around Paul's. This is what it's like. Just like this, you've got grifters and shifters and things. Shifters, literally, in the actual shift that we have there. All up to all sorts. All human life is here. That's what's going on. Any other thoughts from the room before we carry on and see where this scene is taking us? Any other business? No. Okay. So as say some editions have it broken out, this is now continuing as we go into scene 4, Act 3, scene 4. But in practice, it's still the same scene. Enter Sogliardo.
Soft, behold who enters here. Signor Sogliardo, save you.
Save you, good sir, Puntarvolo. Your dog's in health, I see. How now, Carlo?
We've ta'en simple pains to choose you out followers here.
And shows him the bills.
Come hither, senor.
Monsieur Orange, yon gallant observers, prithee, let's talk fustian a little, and gull them, and make them believe we are great scholars.
Oh, Lord, sir.
Oh, nay, prithee, let us, believe me. You have an excellent habit in discourse.
It pleases you to say so, sir.
By this church you have nay, come, begin. Aristotle in his De Monologia approves Scaliger for the best navigator in his time, and in his Hypercritics he reports him to be Eunotominum and Urinos. You understand the Greek, sir?
Oh, God, sir.
Society's sake he does. Oh, here be a couple of fine tame parrots.
Now, sir, where is the ingenuity of the time and the soul synderesis are but embryons in nature, added to the paunch of Esquiline and the intervallium of the zodiac, besides the ecliptic line being optic and not mental, but by the contemplative and rhetoric part thereof doth demonstrate to us the vegetable circumference and the ventosity of the tropics, whereas our intellectual or mincing cabriel, according to the metaphysics, as you read in Plato's History of Mathematics, you conceive me, sir.
Lord, sir.
Then, coming to the pretty animal, as reason long since is fled to animals, you know, or indeed for the more modelizing or enameling, or rather diamondizing of your subjects, you should perceive the hypothesis or galaxia, whereof the meteors long since had their initial interceptions and notions, to be merely Pythagoreal, mathematical and aristocratical. For, look you, sir, there is ever a kind of consanguinity and species. Let us turn to our former discourse, for they mark us not. Mass, yonder's the knight Puntarvolo!
And my cousin Sogliardo, methinks.
Aye, it is familiar that haunts him, the devil with the shining face.
Let him alone, observe him not.
And Sogliardo, Puntarvolo, and Carlo walk together.
Nay, I will have him. I am resolute for that. By this parchment, gentlemen, I have been told so toiled among the harrods yonder that you would not believe. They do speak in the strangest language, and they give a man the hardest terms for his money that ever you knew.
But have you arms? Have you arms?
In faith, I think then. I can write myself, gentlemen, now. Here is my patent. It cost me £30 by this breath.
Oh, very wet, fair coat, well charged and full of armoury.
Nay, it has a much variety of colours in it, as you can see a coat can have. How like you the crest, sir?
I understand it not well. What is't?
Marry, sir, it is your boar without a head, rampant. A boar without a head, that's very rare.
Aye, and rampant too. Troth, I commend the herald's wit. He has deciphered him well. A swine without a head, without brain, wit. Anything indeed, ramping to gentility. You can blazon the rest, signor, can you not?
Oh, I have it in a writing here of purpose. It cost me 2 shillings to tricking.
Let's hear, let's hear.
It is most vile, foolish, absurd, palpable, and ridiculous escutcheon that ever this eye surmised. Save you, good Monsieur Fastidious.
And they salute as they meet in the walk.
Oh, I'm 2 people, sorry. Silence, good night, on. Briony of 8 pieces azure and gules between 3 plates, a chevron engraved eschequi or vert, ermines on a chief argent between 2 anlets sable a boar's head proper.
How's that? On a chief argent?
On a chief argent, a boar's head proper, being 2 anlets sable.
Slud. It's a hog's cheek and puddings in a pewter field, this.
Here they shift. Fastidious mixes with Puntarvolo, Carlo and Sogliardo, Deliro and Macilente, Clove and Orange, 4 couples.
How like you them, Signor?
Let the word be, not without mustard. Your crest is very rare, sir.
A frying pan to the crest had no fellow.
Entreat your poor friend to walk off a little, Signor. I will salute the knight.
Come, lap it up, lap it up.
You are right well encountered, sir. How does your fair dog?
In reasonable state, sir. What citizen is that you were consorted with? A merchant of any worth?
'Tis Signor Deliro, sir.
Is it he? Save you, sir.
And they salute.
Good sir, Puntarvolo.
Oh, what copy of fool would this place minister to one endued with patience to observe it?
Nay, look you, sir, now you're a gentleman, you must carry a more exalted presence. Change your mood and habit to a more austere form. Be exceeding proud, stand upon your gentility, and scorn every man. Speak nothing humbly, never discourse under a nobleman, though you never saw him but riding to the Star Chamber, it's all one. Love no man, trust no man, speak ill of no man to his face, nor well of any man behind his back. Salute fairly on the front, and wish them hanged upon the turn. Spread yourself upon his bosom publicly, whose heart you would eat in private. These be principles. Think on them. I'll come to you again presently.
Exit Carlo, the nobility whisperer. Sogliardo mixes with Puntarvolo and Fastidious Brisk.
Sirrah, keep close, yet not so close thy breath will thaw my ruff.
Oh, good cousin, I am a little busy. How does my niece? I am to walk with a knight here.
Act 3, Scene 5. Enter Fungoso with his tailor.
Oh, he is here. Look you, sir, that's the gentleman.
What? He in the bluish-coloured satin?
Aye, he, sir. Though his suit blush, he blushes not. Look you, that's the suit, sir. I would have mine such a suit without difference. Such stuff, such a wing, such a sleeve, such a shirt, belly and all. Therefore, pray you observe it. Have you a pair of tables?
Why, do you see, sir, they say I am fantastical. Why, true, I know it, and I pursue my humour still in contempt of this censorious age. Slight, a man should do nothing but what a sort of stale judgments about him this town will approve in him. He were a sweet ass. I beg him, i'faith, I never knew any more find fault with a fashion than they that knew not how to put themselves into it. For mine own part, so I please mine own appetite, I am careless what the fusty world speaks of me. Pah!
Do you mark how it hangs at the knee there?
I warned you, sir.
For God's sake, do. Not all. Do you see the collar, sir?
Fear nothing, it shall not differ in a stitch, sir.
Pray heaven it do not. You'll make these linings serve, and help me to a chapman for the outside, will you?
I'll do my best, sir. You'll put it off presently?
Aye, go with me to my chambers, you shall have it, but make haste of it for the love of a customer, for I'll sit in my old suit, or else lie abed and read the Arcadia till you have done.
And exit Fungoso with his tailor, re-enter Carlo.
Oh, if ever you were struck with a jest, gallants, now, I do usher the most strange piece of military profession that ever was discovered in Insula Paulina.
Where?
What's he for a creature?
A pimp, A pimp that I have observed yonder, the rarest superficies of a humour. He comes every morning to empty his lungs in Paul's here, and offers up some 5 or 6 hecatombs of faces and sighs, and away again. Here he comes. Nay, walk, walk. Be not seen to note him, and we shall have excellent sport.
But before that excellent sport occurs, let's just take in some of what we've just had here. We have the running gag of Fungoso and the Tailor, and I'm just wondering how physical this stuff is. That, you know, Fastidious is here talking about, thinking that they're mocking him, but of course, well, actually, they're trying to plagiarise his clothing. I'm just wondering whether the Tailor and Fungoso are sort of chasing him round and, you know, trying to unobtrusively measure him while he's not looking. So I'm wondering how much physical business actually might go around that. And because this scene is so movie, there's so much moving around, and there's actually lots of little things going on in this scene, so many little things, because we've got the dog. Do not forget the dog is very important. They're trying to kill the dog. Do not miss this point of that there is someone just saying to a servant, "Will you please poison this dog?" You know, there's money in it for you. So there's that sort of business going on. Not necessarily literally now, but there's that is being just nodded at again from the hair that we had set up the other day. We've got Carlo continuing his nobility consultancy there, and just reminding us that's ticking over. And we've got Sogliardo's coat of arms, which is patently rubbish. He thinks it's this beautiful thing, and it's so not, Lynn.
Yeah, well, in vis-a-vis that, in my, I had to have another little exasperated moment. I'm getting a little tired of having the jokes explained to me. Like, who is it that says, "Boy without a head"? That means he's not got a brain. Like, yeah, I get that. Like, explain to us why a headless boar is absurd. Like, do we? Yeah. So, but so that was a little annoying. But the whole thing about this like really ridiculous coat of arms that he bought, you know, so he's definitely, you know, nouveau riche, arriviste. He's buying his way into the gentry, which people did. So that's a pretty funny critique of that kind of upward mobility, or those sort of social pretensions. And who is it's Carlo, who is the nobility whisperer, the nobility consultant. It's just like, basically, you can't be too hypocritical. Absolutely say nothing that you actually mean. It's so cynical.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, you know, any of this has any connection with you know, modern life. I mean, this is the thing, is actually this play is really full of stuff that really applies very nicely to certain echelons of modern society, rather depressingly in many ways. Nothing, you know, the mode of it has all changed. You know, they wouldn't necessarily be wandering around Paul's. I don't know, you know. They'll be in a Soho house or something, you know, mingling. I don't know whether, or, you know, at a particular kind of event where they can all sort of disport themselves. And yes, getting a all sorts of sense of. I'm sorry, I just looking in the chat, so we're discussing the nature of the word pimp, aren't we? Which is a very good point, because that's setting up where we're going now. I don't know if anyone wants to expand on that in verbal terms, so that it's not just me talking. I'm just trying to hint here that maybe other people would like to say things. Briony.
Seeing as it was me that put it in the chat, I was just wondering whether or not pimp meant something different back then, because obviously I always hear these things with a modern ear, so it was interesting to find out from Dan that it has sort of roughly meant pretty much the same thing, and this is the first instance of its usage that's cited is actually in this play.
Yeah, or a panda, as sometimes otherwise you know, used. You know, they're there for hanging around this public place and doing all sorts of things that is quite fun. He said, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. We've already got an indication from the bills up on the wall that the solicitation of sex is sort of part of the environment that we're living in. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, you could replace the Isle of Palls with telephone boxes in central London back in the days when such things existed, with the various cards that were allegedly displayed. But I mean, I'm sure we've come across the word pimp in older plays than this, and I suspect that we've got the OED problem that effectively a lot of the original construction of that was done from what were pretty well-known published books, and an awful lot of the material which has emerged since, which was maybe less in public circulation in the late 19th century, already used those words. It's just they didn't make the cut for the OED.
It's either that or we're remembering things that chronologically are in the future, because we have done some. I don't recall pimp. I mean, panda I remember being used a fair amount, but I'm not sure about pimp myself. I'm not saying not. I mean, we could do a word search. I would find it relatively quickly. But yes, it is possible. Other thoughts? I say there's now that we know who most of these characters are, they sort of function quite nicely, and they've been put in a different environment, so they're all interacting in slightly different ways as well. So I'm quite liking that. Lynn,
you would need an enormous stage, wouldn't you?
Not so far. I mean, there's only about 8 on at any one time. There aren't that many characters here.
8's a lot of bodies, especially if they're supposed to be in 2 or 3 clusters. I mean, yeah, well, maybe not enormous, but you couldn't do it in like your little community theater that seats 200 people. Right?
Well, they'd be all very much on top of each other. And Alan,
you could almost set it in modern terms in a sort of a cocktail party with people circulating and groups splitting and reforming. In fact, that would tie in quite nicely with the modern resonances of a political soiree.
I mean, the only problem is it's that bills, the public notice board quality of it, and I'm not quite sure if there is a absolutely a good analog that quite covers all the bases. But we were talking the other day about using social media and phones and things, and maybe actually the bills is just there's an update on their phone just going, oh, you seen this? Or such and such. So there might be something to play there. But I say I'm not sure there's a perfect parallel for this kind of social gathering, because these kind of social gathering spaces are now more virtual than they are real.
Yeah, and Paul's was like the place to be, right? The St. Paul's was like everybody went there. I don't know that we have an equivalent on either side of the herring pond where it's just like a physical space that a vast swathe of society would show up at some point.
And of course, this is the old Paul's, which has precincts and has a surrounding area of a huge amount of semi-commercial activity as well. You've got book stalls, you've got public notice places, you've got people preaching. You've got it's an incredibly dynamic space that is being used for all sorts of different things. It is a marketplace of ideas. And I say this play is sort of capturing that energy, and I say that's one of those problems is it's very much of its moment, and of course that moment is 400 years old plus. So it's slightly trickier to find that perfect analog. But the mocking of someone who's just bought themselves a flash car basically is sort of what they're doing. He's got a vanity plate which says he's a wanker or something,
or may as well.
And he just thinks it says something beautiful and wonderful. So but you've got the ridiculousness of Fastidious, who is OTT, but he kind of carries it off and is emulated. And you've got someone who's trying to emulate him but doesn't have the money, and then you've got someone who's trying to get into the nobility, but is being swindled as they go along. So there's all these this upwardly mobile attempts by people, faking it till they make it.
Which maybe never,
Yeah, I don't see these people going far. But, that's probably the point. They won't stop trying. Okay, let's crack on, because we've had the queuing of the return of Shift. And indeed, Shift does return. Act 3, Scene 6, depending on how you break this up. Shift enters and walks by using action to his rapier. So there's some physical activity going on here.
He ventured a sign now. Thought he would have blown up the church.
Oh, you shall have him give a number of those false fires ere he depart.
See now, he is expostulating with his rapier. Look, look.
Did you ever in your days observe a better passion over a hilt?
Yeah, except it were in the person of a cutler's boy, or that the fellow were nothing but vapour. I should think it impossible.
See again, he claps his sword on the head, as who should say, well, go to.
Oh, violence. I wonder the blade can contain itself, being so provoked.
With that the moody squire thumped his breast and reared his iron to heaven for revenge.
Troth, and you be good gentlemen, let's make them friends, and take up the matter between his rapier and him.
Nay, if you intend that, you must lay down the matter, for this rapier, it seems, is in the nature of a hanger-on, and the good gentleman would happily be rid of him.
By my faith, and 'tis to be suspected, I'll ask him.
Oh, here's rich stuff. For life's sake, let us go. A man would wish himself a senseless pillar rather than view these monstrous prodigies. Nil habet in felix paupertas jurius in se, quam quod ridiculos homines facit.
And with that facet, exit Macilente with Deliro. Ah, Signor!
At your service.
Will you sell your rapier?
He is turned wild upon the question. He looks as he had seen a sergeant.
Sell my rapier? Now fate bless me.
Amen.
You asked me if I would sell my rapier, sir.
I did indeed.
Now, Lord, have mercy upon me.
Amen. I say still.
Sled, sir, what should you behold in my face, sir, that you should move you, as they say, sir, to ask me, sir, if I would sell my rapier?
Nay, let me pray you, sir, be not moved. I protest I would rather have been silent than any way offensive had I known your nature.
Sell my rapier? Odds lid! Nay, sir, for mine own part, as I am a man that has served in causes or so I am not apt to injure any gentleman in the degree of falling foul, but sell my rapier? I will tell you, sir, I have served with this foolish rapier, where some of us dare not appear in haste. I name no man, but let that pass. Sell my rapier? Death to my lungs! This rapier, sir, has travelled by my side, sir, the best part of France and the Low County. I have seen Flushing, Brill, and the Hague with this rapier, sir, in my Lord of Leicester's time, and by God's will, he that should offer to disrapier me now, I would... Look you, sir, you presume to be a gentleman of sort, and so likewise your friends here. If you have any disposition to travel for the sight of service, or so one, two, or all of you, I can lend you letters to divers officers and commanders in the Low Countries that shall, for my cause, do you all the good offices that shall pertain or belong to a gentleman of your... Please to show the bounty of your mind, sir, to impart some 10 groats, or half a crown, to our use, till our ability be of growth to return it, and we shall think oneself... Blood! Sell my rapier!
Hey, you, what said he, Signor? He's a proper man.
Marry, he tells me, if I please to show the bounty of my mind, to impart some 10 groats to his use or so.
Break his head and give it to him.
I thought he'd been playing the Jew's trump, I.
My rapier? No, sir. My rapier is my guard, my defence, my revenue, my honour. If you cannot impart, be secret, I beseech you. And I will maintain it where there is a grain of dust or a drop of water. Hard is the choice when the valiant must eat their arms or clem. Sell my rapier? No, my dear, I will not be divorced from thee yet. I have ever found thee true as steel, and you cannot impart, sir? Save you, gentlemen. Nevertheless, if you have a fancy to it, sir.
Prithee away. Is Signor Deliro departed?
Have you seen a pimp outface his own wants better?
I commend him that can dissemble them so well.
True, and having no better a cloak for it than that he has neither.
Odds precious, what mischievous luck is this? Adieu, gentlemen.
Whither in such haste, Monsieur Fastidious?
After my merchant, Signor Deliro, sir. And exit Fastidious Brisk.
Oh, hinder him not. He mayhap lose his title. A good flounder, i' faith.
Orange and Clove call shift aside.
How, Signor Whiffy?
What was the difference between that gallant that's gone and you, sir?
No difference. He would have given me £5 for my rapier, and I refused it. That's all.
It was no otherwise. We thought you'd been upon some terms.
No other than you saw, sir.
No. Adieu, good Master Applejohn. Exit Clove and Orange.
How? Whiffy and Applejohn too? Heart, what will you say if this be the appendix or label to both you indentures?
It may be.
Resolve us of it, Janus. Thou that look'st every way, or thou, Hercules, that has travelled all countries?
Nay, Carlo, spend not time in invocations now. 'Tis late.
Signor, here's a gentleman desirous of your name, sir.
Sir, my name is Cavalier Shift. I am known sufficiently in this walk, sir.
Shift. I heard your name varied even now, as I take it.
True, sir, it pleases the world, as I am her excellent tobacconist, to give me the style of Signor Whiff. As I am a poor esquire about the town here, they call me Master Applejohn. Variety of good names does well, sir.
Aye, and good parts, to make those good names, out of which I imagine yon bills to be yours.
Sir, if I should deny the manuscripts, I were worthy to be banished the Middle Isle forever.
I take your word, sir. This gentleman has subscribed to them, and is most desirous to become your pupil. Marry, you must use expedition. Signor Insulo Sogliardo. This is the professor.
In a good time, sir, and nay, a good sir. How's your head? Do not profess these slights in tobacco?
I do more than profess, sir. And if you please to be a practitioner, I will undertake in 1 fortnight to bring you that you shall take it plausibly in any ordinary theatre, or the tilt yard, if need be, in the most popular assembly that is.
But you cannot bring him to the whiff so soon.
Yes, as soon, sir. He shall receive the first, second, and third whiff, if it please him, and upon the receipt take his horse, drink his 3 cups of canary, and expose one at Hounslow, a second at Staines, and a third at Backshot.
Oh, wow.
You will not serve me, sir, will you? I'll give you more than countenance.
Pardon me, sir, I do scorn to serve any man.
Who? He serve? Sblood, he keeps high men and low men, he. He has a fair living at Fulham.
But in the nature of a fellow, I'll be your follower, if you please.
Sir, you shall stay and dine with me, and if we can agree, you'll not part in haste. I am very bountiful to a man of quality. Oh, where shall we go, Signor?
Your mitre is your best house.
I can make this dog take as many whiffs as I list, and he shall retain or effume them at my pleasure.
Pay your patience. Follow me, fellows.
Sir Puntarvolo.
Pardon me, my dog shall not eat in his company for 1,000,000.
And exit Puntarvolo, sparing his dog from potential poisoning, with his servants.
Nay, Be not you amazed, Signor Whiff, whatever that stiff-necked gentleman says.
No, for you do not know the humor of the dog as we do. Where shall we dine, Carlo? I would fain go to one of these ordinaries. Now I am a gentleman.
So you may. Were you never at any yet?
No, faith, and they say their resorts your most choice gallants.
True. And the fashion is, when any stranger comes in amongst them, they all stand up and stare at him, as he were some unknown beast brought out of Afric. But that will be helped with a good adventurous face. You must be impudent enough. Sit down and use no respect. When anything's propounded above your capacity, smile at it. Make 2 or 3 faces, and 'tis excellent. They'll think you've travelled, though you argue a whole day in silence thus, and discourse in nothing but laughter, 'twill pass. Only now and then give fire, discharge a good full oath, and offer a great wager. 'Twill be admirable.
I warrant you, I am a resolute. Come, signor, there's a poor French crown for your ordinary.
Comes well, for I had not so much as the least portcullis of coin before.
And we go to the exterior viewers of the play with Mitis and Cordatus. Dan.
Sorry, I didn't have that highlight. Which part?
I travail with another objection.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. I travail with another objection, Signor, which I fear will be enforced against the author ere I can be delivered of it.
What's that, sir?
That the argument of his comedy might have been of some other nature, as of a duke to be in love with the countess, and that countess to be in love with the duke's son, and the son to love the lady's waiting maid. Some such cross-wooing with a clown to their serving man, better than to be thus near and familiarly allied to the time.
You say well, sir, but I would fain hear one of these autumn judgments define once quid sit commedia. If he cannot, let him content himself with Cicero's definition, till he have strength to purpose to himself a better, who would have a comedy to be imitatio vitae speculum consuetudinis imago veritatis, a thing throughout pleasant and ridiculous, and accommodated to the correction of manners. If the maker have failed in any particular particle of this, they may worthily tax him, but if not, why, be you that are for them silent, as I will be for him, and give way to the actors.
So before we move into what we can genuinely call another scene, yes, we've got that thing. I'm not sure about this play. I think it should be, about dukes and love and things. It's a bit too contemporary. Don't like this contemporary comedy. It's a bit near the mark, isn't it? It's a bit near the knuckle. No, it's fine, mate. It's fine. Okay, yeah, we've got a lot of again, lots of business, lots of movement, shift. Playing this persona, this playing this humour of being this violent, scary person. And Sarah did that very nicely, of the transition of going, I have been doing the performance of being really angry. And if you'll just happily just play along, sir, that'd be very nice. I'll send you the sword later. That's okay. Thank you very much. And then back to the performance. There's something really rather fun there. A return of Clove and Orange, just to sort of punctuate the gag and make sure that it's clear for anyone who wasn't following it at home. Yes, Orange and Clove are just, again, they're just there for colour in the scene, aren't they? I liked earlier the random scene when they were pretending to, one of them was pretending to be more learned than the other, and then they realise nobody's watching, and they leave. I just quite like the pointlessness of it. Again, it's this nice, interesting little sketch. Random bit of anti-Semitism there, and other slightly problematic little bits, but sign of the then times. Other thoughts in the room, Lynn?
There are lots of really great moments. still, it somehow make the transition over the 400 years, despite the fact this is quite of its moment. When they ask this who was it, Shift, whoever was Sarah was reading about his sword, and he just goes off. Sell my sword? No, never. And just like carries on. And they come back to Sogliardo, and he's like, so how'd it go? So, Sogliardo's cluelessness continues to sort of peg the meter. So there are moments that are really recognizable and really funny. But yeah, there's so much of it. And again, I'm sorry, maybe I'm just a mean-spirited person, or I don't get it or something. Mitis and Cordatus are just annoying the shit out of me. It's like, we don't need you guys.
I know. I disagree. I mean, I agree. They speak at great length. But I do feel that, because again, it's a part of the game is talking about the conventions that you're seeing on stage, and just pointing out and the objections that the audience might have against the scene that they've had.
Yeah.
But again, Cordatus, his response always just goes on too long. That's basically the rule of thumb there. Carlo giving some good advice about how to deal with strangers, which is just stand there smiling a lot, and everyone will think you're very interesting. And Shift is a master smoke blower. He knows all the tobacco arts. He can blow all the rings. There's that's quite a. I don't know when, obviously before this, that kind of demonstrative smoke ring blowing thing came in. So it's a thing of some description. I've not really seen that much of a display beyond the odd smoke ring through a smoke ring. That's about as far as I've got there. I don't know what other things he can do with smoke. The mind boggles, frankly. Lynn?
I wonder if that's a gag. I wonder if there really is no, basically, art to smoking, that he's just sort of pretending there's a right way to do it. And there's fancy ways of doing it, and there's techniques. You've got to know this to do this properly, and really there's not, or it's not that complicated, but he's just sort of pretending there is, to, again, to, sort of elevate his status and get people to admire him and give him money. Because everybody's on the grift here, basically, and everybody's pretending to be something they're not.
Yeah, I mean, because Shift has got these bills up advertising some of the things that he can do for you, so it's all part of his shtick. So yeah, Sarah.
It's reminding me a bit of back in the 90s. There was this momentary trend for cigar bars that didn't last very long, but for a while there, you had this thing where you just had people going to hang out and smoke cigars, men and women, and it became super fashionable. And like, you would get all sorts of different people just going to smoke cigars, and it occurred to me that you could set this scene in that kind of environment, maybe, because you would have the thing of lots of different people from lots of different places all coming to do a fairly pointless activity and hang out together. But I don't know if it would actually travel, because like it was only a thing that happened for like a very short period of time, and now it's disappeared again, as far as I know.
It's not one I remember, I have to say, but it's fashions. What do we do about fashions when things sort of ebb in and out and do strange things? And of course, the dog got away. The dog has not died, and Puntarvolo, having been highlighted that the danger to his dog previously, is going to make sure that it's kept away from anyone who might try and kill it. Not going to eat in the company of any of those ruffians with his dog. So yeah. I'm hoping the dog survives. I'm going to say, it's tough on a comedy if the dog doesn't make it. It's tough on most films, and I've seen The Snorkel.
Yeah.
So it's spoilers there for The Snorkel. The dog dies. Yeah, it's anyway. We should move on because I'm now rambling because nobody wants to say anything, which is fine. Act 3, Scene 7, or alternatively Scene 2, depending on how you want to break this up. But we're going for a maximalist approach. And we're going in a different direction now, different location or different unit of action, as it were. It might still be the same location. Enter Sordido with a halter about his neck.
Nay, God's precious, if the weather and season be so respectless, that beggars shall live as well as their betters, that my hunger and thirst for riches shall not make them hunger and thirst with poverty. My sleep shall be broken, and their hearts not broken. My coffers shall be full, and yet care, theirs empty, and yet merry. 'Tis time that a cross shall bear flesh and blood, since flesh and blood cannot bear this cross.
Mitis?
One sec.
Sorry, they turn
Like,
up
will he
so
hang-
randomly, so it's always a bit of a
Right. What, will he hang himself?
Faith, aye, it seems his prognostication hath not kept touch with him, and that makes him despair.
Beshrew me, he will be out of his humour then indeed.
Shut these star-mongering knaves, who would trust 'em? One says dark and rainy when 'tis as clear as crystal. Another says tempestuous blasts and storms and was calm as Millpool. Here be sweet rascals for a man to credit his old fortunes with. You sky-staring coxcombs, you fat brains, out upon you. You're good for nothing but to sweat nightcaps and make rug gowns dear. You learned men that have not a legion of devils of votre service. Of votre service, by heaven, I think I shall die a better scholar than they. But soft.
Enter Hind with a letter.
How now, sirrah?
Here's a letter come from your son, sir.
From my son, sir? What would my son, sir? Good news, no doubt. Sweet and dear father, desiring you first to send me your blessing, which is more worth to me than gold or silver, I desire you likewise to be advertised that this Shrove tide, contrary to custom, we use always to have revels, which is indeed dancing, and makes an excellent show in truth, especially if we gentlemen be well attired, just seniors note, and think the better of our fathers, the better we are maintained, and that they should know if they come up and have anything to do in the law. Therefore, good father, these are, for your own sake as well as mine, to re-desire you that you let me not want that which is fit for the setting up of our name in the honourable volume of gentility, that I may say to our calumniators with Tully, ego sum ortus domus meo tu arceus tuae. And thus, not doubting of your fatherly benevolence, I humbly ask your blessing and pray God to bless you. Yours, if his own. How's this? Yours, if his own. Is he not my son, except he be his own son? Belike this is new some kind of subscription the gallants use. Well, wherefore dost thou stay, knave? Away! Go!
Exit Hind.
Here's a letter indeed. Revels and benevolence? Is this a weather to send benevolence, or is this a season to revel in? Slip the devil and all takes part affects me, I think. His letter would never have come now else. Now, when the sun shines and the air thus clear, so this old, we shall certainly have an excellent crop of corn sprung out of the highways. The streets and houses of the town will be hid with the rankness of the fruits that grow there in spite of good husbandry. Go to, I'll prevent the sight of it. Come as quickly as I can. I will prevent the sight of it. Have this remedy. Heaven!
And he clambers up and suspends the halter to a tree.
Stay. I'll try the pain thus a little. Oh, nothing. Well, now shall my son gain a benevolence by my death? Or anybody be the better for my gold or so forth? No. Alive, I kept it from them, and dead, my ghost shall walk about it and preserve it. My son and daughter shall starve ere they touch it. I've hit it as deep as hell from the sight of heaven, and to it I go now.
And falls off, at which point enter 5 or 6 rustics, one after another.
Ay me, what a pitiful sight is this. Help, help, help!
Oh, now what's the matter?
Oh, here's a man who has hanged himself. Help to get him again.
Hanged himself, Frig. Carry him afore a justice. 'Tis chance medley, o' my word.
Oh no, what's here to do?
How comes this?
One has executed himself contrary to the order of law, and by my consent he shall answer for it.
And they cut him down. Oh, what are you in case to answer it?
Stand by. Here covers. Give him bread.
Oh,
Oh, mass, 'twas well you went the footway, neighbour.
I had not cut the halter.
now, cut the altar. Oh, me, I'm undone.
Marry, if you had not been undone, you'd have been hanged, I can tell you.
You threadbare horse-bread-eating rascals. You would needs have been meddling. Could you not have untied it? But you must have cut it, and in the midst too. Ah, me.
Aye, out on me. 'Tis the caterpillar Sordido. How cursed are the poor that the viper was blessed with this good fortune.
Nay, how accursed art thou that art to the curse of the poor. Art caused
Aye,
the curse of the poor. Sorry.
aye, and to save so wretched a caitiff.
Cursed be thy fingers that loosed him.
Some desperate fury possess thee, that thou mayest hang thyself too.
Never mayst thou be saved that saved so damned a monster.
What curses breed these men? How have my deeds made my looks differ from another man's, that they should thus detest and loathe my life? Out on my wretched humour, it is that makes me thus monstrous in true humane eyes. Pardon me, gentle friends, I make fair amends for my foul errors past, and 20-fold restore to all men what with wrong I robbed them. My barns and garners shall stand open still to all the poor that come, and my best grain be made alms bread to feed half-famished mouths. Though hitherto amongst you I have lived like an unsavoury muck-ill to myself, yet now my gathered heaps, being spread abroad, shall turn to better and more fruitful uses. Bless then this man, curse him no more for saving my life and soul together. Oh, how deeply the bitter curses of the poor do pierce. I am by wonder changed. Come in with me and witness my repentance. Now I prove no life is blessed that is not graced with love.
Exit the changed Sordido.
Oh, miracle! See when a man has grace.
Had it not been pity so good a man should have been cast away?
Well, I'll get our clock and put his conversion into the Acts and Monuments.
Do, for I warrant him he's a martyr.
Oh, God, if you marked it, did you see how the tears trilled?
Yes, believe me, like Master Vicar's bowls upon the green for all the world.
Oh, neighbour, God's blessing on your heart, neighbour. 'Twas a good, grateful deed.
Exit the rustics and we return to our chorus.
How now, Mitis? What's that you consider so seriously?
Troth, that which doth essentially please me, the warping condition of this green and soggy multitude. But in good faith, Senior, your author hath largely outstripped my expectation in this scene. I will liberally confess it. For when I saw Sordido so desperately intended, I thought I had a hand on him so then.
What, you suppose he should have hung himself indeed?
I did, and had framed my objection to it ready, which may yet be very fitly urged, and with some necessity. For though his purposed violence lost the effect, and extended not to death, yet the intent and horror of the object was more than the nature of a comedy will in any sort admit.
Aye, and what thought you of Plautus in his comedy called Sistellaria, there, where he brings in Alcesimarchus with a drum sword ready to kill himself, and as he is even fixing his breast upon it to be restrained from his resolved outrage by selenium and the bawd, is not his authority of power to give our scene approbation?
Sir, I have this only evasion left me, to say I think it be so indeed. Your memory is happier than mine, but I wonder what engine he will use to bring the rest out of their humours.
That will appear anon. Never preoccupy your imagination withal. Let your mind keep company with the scene still, which now removes itself from the country to the court. Here comes Macilente and Signor Brisk, freshly suited. Lose not yourself, nor now the epitasis or busy part of our subject is an act.
And we'll pause there. Yeah, we've had this conversation loads of times. Actually, this is that question of going, I'm not sure about the tone. I was enjoying it, but suddenly it went really violent, and I don't know what to do with it. Hang on, isn't this supposed to be a comedy? And yeah, so this is something that was criticised even then. It's not actually our contemporary view, and Jonson gives us a defence, or a character in a play by Jonson gives us a defence, saying there's precedence. But yeah, we've got lots of precedents for this kind of scene. Someone going to hang themselves and then having they're spared, and there is a miraculous conversion to goodness from their miserliness. And not only does he convert from to goodness, he also converts to blank verse. It's just, I can't resist it. Lynn.
Yes, so Sordido. So the prospect of grain practically growing in the street and prices plummeting, so he can't gouge people, and he despairs and threatens to hang himself. Yeah, that is a little weird and dark, and yeah, making that fly is going to be interesting. But there is a moment when the rustics rescue him, and he's coming to, and he's like, "You had to cut the rope, perfectly good rope, and you cut it. That was ruined. It's like it was a perfectly good length of rope, but you couldn't untie it. Jesus."
Well, no, worse than that, you cut it in the middle.
Right? Like miser till the very end, and then he switches to blank verse and makes a conversion, and I am not buying it. Oh boy, that is a challenge for an actor.
It's a wonderful moment. I particularly like the way the rustics they rush, they try and save him, and then they find out who he is and go, "Oh, couldn't you have let him hang?"
Damn it! We should have let him die.
Yeah, and then they are moved to by suggested tears by his conversion as well, and it's so extreme. It's so extreme. Alan.
There's also that nice little pop at the clergy, as round as the vicar's bowls on the green.
Right.
Yes. There's also, just at the beginning, Sordido just coming on, just complaining the weather forecast was wrong. How dare it? How dare my almanac lie to me?
My weather app was inaccurate.
Yeah. Alan.
Have you ever known a farmer be happy about the weather?
Yeah, well, indeed. But yeah, he was so convinced of his sure thing earlier. And actually, once again, thinking about this in a sort of atomized way, we have got a mini morality play. We had the scene with Sordido at the beginning. We haven't really seen him since, and then we got a little scene with him now. And actually, there's a little atomized. It is a morality play. I mean, we see this in morality plays. We see this in Magnificence and other plays where we have this saving of... And the thing is, he's swinging up there for quite a while. The rustics come in and grab him, but it takes them a while to actually get him down. So this is a logistical... This is a big... I mean, the risk assessment on this is a nightmare. That puts me off staging this one more than anything else, of just going, oh, I have to organise a hanging. Have you any idea how much hard work that is? Almost as difficult as a crucifixion. In fact, more so, honestly. Other thoughts in the room? I kind of enjoyed it, I have to say. But then that's possibly just my dark, twisted nature. Yeah, cursed be the fingers that loosed him. We have, I think, one more scene of the act. You never know, we might... We're making very good time, so we might attempt to continue into a bit of Act 4. Oh, see if that's physically possible. So, anyway, we're going to continue on. We're going to meet a new person. We're going to meet someone we haven't met for a while. And we're going to meet some people we've been meeting continually. So, Act 3, Scene 9, or Scene 3, I presume, in alternative, yes. Enter Macilente, Fastidious Brisk, both in new suits. Costume change for Fastidious Brisk. And Cinedo with tobacco. Well, now, Signor Macilente, you are not only welcome to the court, but also to my mistress's withdrawing chamber. Boy, get me some tobacco. But I'll go in and show I am here and come to you presently, sir. Exit Fastidious.
What's that he said? By heaven, I marked him not. My thoughts and I were of another world. I was admiring mine own outside here. To think what privilege and palm it bears here in the court. Be a man ne'er so vile in wit, in judgment, manners, or what else, if he can purchase but a silken cover, he shall not only pass, but pass regarded. Whereas let him be poor and meanly clad, though ne'er so richly parted, you shall have a fellow that knows nothing but his beef, or how to rinse his clammy guts in beer, will take him by the shoulders or the throat, and kick him down the stairs. Such is the state of virtue in bad clothes, that raiment should be in such high request. How long should I be ere I should put off to the Lord Chancellor's tomb or the Shrive's post? By heaven, I think 1,000 year. His gravity, his wisdom, and his faith to my dread sovereign, graces that survive him, these I could well endure to reverence, but not his tomb. No more than I'd commend the chapel organ for the gilt without, or this base vial for the varnished face.
Re-enter Fastidious Brisk. I fear I have made you stay somewhat long, sir, but is my tobacco ready, boy? Boy. Dan.
Cinedo. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was or not. Aye, sir.
Give me my mistresses. Upon coming, you shall see her presently, sir. You'll say you never accosted a more piercing wit. This tobacco is not dried, boy, or else the pipe is defective. Oh, your wits of Italy are nothing compared to her. Her brain's a very quiver of jests, and she does dart them abroad with that sweet, loose, and judicial aim that you would... Oh, here she comes, sir. And Saviolina looks in and draws back again.
'Twas time. His invention had been bogged else.
Give me my fan there.
How now, Monsieur Brisk?
A kind of affectionate reverence strikes me with a cold shivering, methinks.
I like such tempers well, as stand before their mistresses with fear and trembling, and before their maker like impudent mountains.
By this hand, I'd spend £20. My vaulting horse stood here now. She might see but do one trick.
Why, does she love activity?
Or if you had but your long stockings on, to be dancing a galliard as she comes by.
Aye, either. Oh, these stirring humours make ladies mad with desire. She comes, my good genius, embolden me, boy, the pipe quickly. Enter Saviolina.
What? Will he give her music?
A second good morrow to my fair mistress.
Fair servant, I'll thank you a day hence, when the date of your salutation comes forth.
Oh, how like you that answer! Is't not admirable?
I were a simple courtier if I could not admire trifles, sir.
Oh, troth, sweet lady, I shall be prepared to give you thanks for those thanks, and study more officious and obsequious regards to your fair beauties. Mend the pipe, boy.
I never knew tobacco taken as a parenthesis before.
For God, sweet lady, believe it. I do honour the meanest rush in this chamber for your love.
Aye, you need not tell me that, sir. I do think you do prize a rush before my love.
Is this the wonder of nations?
Oh, by this air, pardon me, for I said for your love, by this light, but it is the accustomed sharpness of your ingenuity, sweet mistress, to mass your vials new strung, methinks.
Ingenuity? I see his ignorance will not suffer him to slander her, which he had done notably if he had said wit for ingenuity as he meant it.
By the soul of music, lady.
Would we might hear it once?
I do adore and admire your predominant perfections, than ever I shall have power and faculty to express
Upon the Viol de Gambo, you mean?
It's miserably out of tune by this hand.
Nay, rather by the fingers.
It makes good harmony with her wit.
Sweet lady, tune it. Boy, some tobacco.
Tobacco again? He does court his mistress with very exceeding good changes.
Signor Macilente, you take none?
No. Unless I had a mistress, signor, it were a great indecorum for me to take tobacco.
Oh, how like your wit.
Her ingenuity is excellent, sir.
Yes. You see the subject of her sweet fingers there. Oh, she tickles it so that she makes it laugh most divinely. I'll tell you a good jest now, and yourself shall say it's a good one. I have wished myself to be that instrument, I think, 1,000 times, and not so few, by heaven.
Not unlike, sir, but how? To be cased up and hung by on the wall?
Oh, no, sir, to be in use, I assure you, as your judicious eyes may testify.
Here, servant, if you will play, come.
Instantly, sweet lady, in good faith, here's most divine tobacco.
Nay, I cannot stay to dance after your pipe.
Oh, good, nay, dear lady, stay by this sweet smoke. I think your wit be all fire.
And he's the salamander belongs to it.
Is your tobacco perfumed, servant, that you swear by the sweet smoke?
Still more excellent. Before heaven and these bright lights, I think you are made of ingenuity.
True as your discourse is, abominable.
Will your ladyship take any?
Oh, peace, I pray you. I love not the breath of a woodcock's head.
Meaning my head, lady.
Not altogether so, sir, but as it were fatal to their follies that think to grace themselves with taking tobacco, when they want better entertainment, you see your pipe bears the true form of a woodcock's head.
Oh, admirable simile.
'Tis best leaving of you in admiration, sir.
Exit Saviolina.
Are these the admired lady wits, that having so good a plain song can run no better division upon it? All her jests are of the stamp March was 15 years ago. Is this the comet, Monsieur Fastidious, that your gallants wonder at so?
O heart of a gentleman, to neglect me afore the presence thus! Oh, sweet sir, I beseech you be silent in my disgrace. By the Muses, I was never in so vile a humour in my life, and her wit was at the flood too. Oh, report it not for a million, good sir. Let me be so far endeared to your love. And they exit, leaving us with the chorus.
What follows next, Signor Cordatus? This gallant's humour is almost spent. Methinks it ebbs apace with this contrary breath of his mistress.
Oh, but it will flow again for all this, till there comes a general drought of humour among our actors, and then I fear not, but his will fall as low as any. See who presents himself here.
What, in the old case?
Aye, faith, which makes it the more pitiful. You understand where the scene is.
And we'll just pause there. Okay, obviously, pipes don't go quack. But Lynn.
It made me laugh every time. Every time you did that, I laughed.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just juvenile. I will not deny that. I was thinking, if you did this, you gotta like disguise a kazoo as a cigar and do that, because it cracked me up.
Yeah, I think it's that thing. You could easily put the sounding board inside a pipe, and so that every time it's making some really strange noise, and because the thing is, he's got to think he's really with it and
really
cool, and the most latest vaping machine available.
Yeah,
Briony.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's giving me really strong vape wanker vibes.
Vape wanker, right?
For the ones that are like bigger than their heads and give off like stars in their eyes level smoke clouds. Yeah, you could definitely have some fun with that. There was also I don't know again whether it's like my ears. Obviously, there's been a lot of rude jokes today. I don't know. I feel like a lot of it's been missing me, but I've been catching that rude joke. Not really sure, rude joke, but it kind of did. It almost sounded like Saviolina was basically saying that he had like dick breath from his smoking, or was that just like the way my ears making it sound that way?
I don't know if literally that's the interpretation that we would go for. To be honest, I similarly am not quite wholly sure where some of the depths of the jokes are landing, but I think there is that level of contempt throughout the scene. Alan.
Well, I think we've got the usual early one rule. If it sounds even vaguely like a rude joke, it is.
Yeah. And I think
or it will be played as such.
Yeah. And also we've got, because I've just been following literally what it says in the script, which is hum hum, but of course it's messing around with a viol and playing it appallingly. If I'd had a moment, I would have leapt across and grabbed a ukulele or something to. So it's a very prop heavy scene. I have to say that's the kind of scene I like. Brings out my inner Peter Cushing. I like a proppy scene. And because Lynn's been saying less than enamoured with Mitis and Cordatus and asking why are they there. I have to be honest, at the moment, the one of the person from the opening introductory induction who I'm really wondering why are they here is at the moment Macilente. I mean, I'm not sure what Macilente has added to any scenes. Because they're on stage, but they're also doing commentary to everybody else's action, and hasn't really. I mean, in theory, there's a sort of love thing going on, but that has not gone anywhere at all. I'll go to Lynn and Sarah.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of thought at the very beginning, why do we have Asper and Macilente? Like they seem sort of versions of each other. What? Yeah, he seems really extraneous to me as well. It kind of he's the sort of cynical, he's a gun on the mantle that's not getting used, I feel like.
It's not like in the malcontent, where we've got a malcontent who is entirely the centre of the plot. Here we got a malcontent who's just being an arse, and it's sort of, And of course, because he's being asked in asides constantly, it's stopping the flow of the action as well, in a way that is, I find more annoying than Mitis than Cordatus, because they sort of punctuate in between scenes, and when they step into scenes, they're actually usually very brief. It's just a line here or a line there, and I can take them quite well. Sarah, then Alan.
Yeah, I'm also finding him difficult to get a handle on in terms of playing him, because, I've been here since the beginning of the play, and Lois was talking on day one in Act 1 about how basically there's some sort of idea that Macilente is Asper, that Asper comes on and plays Macilente, and so the character, and so like having like listened to him for the last 2 days, I'm like, okay, I kind of know who this character is, and so that's how I started playing him today. But then in actual fact, he's not really, unless the joke is that he is now out of his humor too. He's not really. He doesn't appear to me to be the same character that he was. He's still an arse, but he's an arse in a different kind of way. He's kind of changed personality somehow. So maybe that's deliberate on Jonson's part, but it's not really added much to it, I don't think. Not when we've got all this other stuff going on around him.
Mm. Yeah. Alan, then Dan.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether Macilente was there as either an ego trip for Jonson, or simply a way of getting paid yet again for doing an acting role as well as his authorial credit.
Dan.
I'm not sure if it's in this script. I don't think it's in our script, but it has there's this whole character description in the printed editions that talks about each of them.
It is at the end of our script.
At the end of it, all right, yeah.
At the beginning, I didn't want to lead the witnesses.
Okay, so then I should have mentioned what it says.
I think at this stage you probably can, actually. I think we're far enough into the text for that to be okay. I just didn't want to start from that sort of starting point.
Right, because I think that if this is supposed to be a stand-in for Jonson, I'm not sure about that, but he calls him a sufficient scholar, that somebody who has apoplexy and grows violently impatient of any opposite happiness in another. I don't know how that's supposed to be humorous, but I certainly see this sounds much like Jonson himself, who likes to basically, I guess, take the piss out of everything, essentially. Everything that he has with, I guess, satirizing every single moment and character that he crosses in his plays, and possibly, I'm not sure if this is a reflection of real life, but it certainly seems to be something that he does in his plays a lot.
Sarah.
So basically, if I've understood that right, he's basically there to be contrary to whoever he's in a scene with. Yeah. So that explains the change in tone, because you've got all these different scenes and these different sets of characters, and so he's just basically being an arse to whoever is there. Right.
Seems like the fun police.
Yeah. Okay.
And it also explains why he was suddenly enamored of someone who was so horrific in the previous act, because of course it's just the contrary response, and that sort of makes sense. It's opposite day, kind of dig. I think we're going to read on a little bit more. We're going to go into Act 4. I think we can manage that. I'm going to ask Alan to take up Fallace, as you were supposed to be reading. So if you could read that part, the not so happy wife, and we return to Fungoso. And remember, Fungoso has written to his dad saying, "Hi, Dad," when Dad has no money. Could I have some money for some new clothes? Because, there's going to be some Morris dancing happening. And I have to look my best. And having already sort of tried to swindle out cash earlier. So, we return to Fungoso and his attempts at whatever with Fallace here. So, enter Fungoso and Fallace, or Fallace, I don't know, following him.
Why are you so melancholy, brother?
I'm not melancholy, I thank you, sister.
Why are you not merry, then? There are but two of us in the world, and if we should not be comforts to one another, God help us.
Faith, I cannot tell, sister, but If a man had any true melancholy in him, it would make him melancholy to see his yeomanly father cut his neighbours' throats to make his son a gentleman. And yet, when he has cut them, he will see his son's throat cut too, ere he make him a true gentleman indeed, before death cut his own throat. I must be the first head of our house, and yet he will not give me the head till I be made so. Is any man termed a gentleman that is not always in the fashion? I would know but that.
If you be melancholy for that, brother, I think I have as much cause to be melancholy as any one. I'll be sworn, I live as little in the fashion as any woman in London. For the faith of a gentlewoman, beast that I am to say it, I have not one friend in the world beside my husband. When saw you Master Fastidious Brisk, brother?
But a while since, sister, I think. I know not well in truth. By this hand I could fight with all my heart, methinks.
Nay, good brother, be not resolute.
I sent him a letter, and he writes me no answer neither.
Oh, sweet Fastidious Brisk, oh, fine courtier, thou art he makes me sigh, and say, how blessed is that woman that hath a courtier to husband, and how miserable a dame she is that hath neither husband nor friend in the court. Oh, sweet Fastidious, oh, fine courtier, how comely he bows him in his courtesy, how full he hits a woman between the lips when he kisses, how upright he sits at the table, how daintily he carves, how sweetly he talks and tells news of this lord and that lady, how cleanly he wipes his spoon at every spoonful of any white meat he eats. What a neat case of picked tooths he carries about him still. Oh, sweet Fastidious, oh, fine courtier.
Act 4, Scene 2. Enter Deliro at a distance with musicians.
See, yonder she is, gentlemen. Now, as ever you'll bear the name of musicians, touch your instruments sweetly. She has a delicate ear, I tell you. Play not a false note, I beseech you.
Oh, fear not, Signor Deliro.
Oh, begin some sprightly thing. Lord, how my imagination labors with the success of it. Ha! Well said, good of faith. Heaven grant it please her. I'll not be seen, for then she'll be sure to dislike it.
This is excellent. I'll lay my life, this is my husband's dotage. I thought so. Nay, never play Bo Peep with me. I know you do nothing but study how to anger me, sir.
Anger thee, sweet wife. Why didst thou not send for musicians at supper last night thyself?
To supper, sir? Now come up to supper, I beseech you, as though there were no difference between supper time, when folks should be merry, and this time when they should be melancholy. I would never take upon me to take a wife who had no more judgment to please her.
Be pleased, sweet wife, and they shall have done, and would to fate my life were done if I can never please thee.
Exit the musicians. Enter Macilente.
Save you, lady. Where is Master Deliro?
Here, Master Macilente, you are welcome from court, sir. No doubt you have been graced exceedingly a Master Brisk's mistress and the rest of the ladies for his sake.
Alas, the poor fantastic. He's scarce known to any lady there, and those that know him the simplest man of all they know. Deride and play upon his amorous humours, though he but apishly doth imitate the gallantest courtiers, kissing ladies' pumps, holding the cloth for them, praising their wits, as servilely observing every one may do them pleasure, fearful to be seen with any man, though he be ne'er so worthy, that's not in his grace with some that are the greatest. Thus courtiers do, and these he counterfeits, but sets no such a sightly carriage upon their vanities as they themselves, and therefore they despise him. For indeed he's like the zany to a tumbler that tries tricks after him to make men laugh.
There's an unthankful, spiteful wretch. Good gentleman vouchsafe to make him his companion, because my husband put him into a few rags. And now see how the unrude rascal backbites him.
He no more graced amongst them then, say you.
Faith, like a pawn at chess. Fills up a room, that's all.
Monster of men. Could bear such an envious caitiff.
Well, I repent me I ever credit him so much. But now I see what he is, and that his masking visor is off. I'll forbear him no longer. All his lands are mortgaged to me and forfeited. Besides, I have bonds of his in my hand for the receipt of now £50, now 100, now 200. Still, as he has had a fan but wagged at him, he would be in a new suit. Well, I'll salute him by a sergeant. The next time I see him at Faith, I'll shoot him.
Why, you may soon see him, sir, for he is to meet Signor Puntarvolo at the notary's by the exchange presently, where he meant to take up upon return.
Now out upon thee, Judas. Canst thou not be content to backbite thy friend, but thou must betray him? Wilt thou seek the undoing of any man, and of such a man too? And will you, sir, get your living by the counsel of traitors?
Dear wife, have patience.
The house will fall, the ground will open and swallow us. I'll not bide here for all the gold and silver in heaven.
Exit Fallace and Fungoso.
Oh, good Macilente, let's follow in a peace hill, or the peace of my life is at an end.
Exit Deliro.
Now peas, and not peace, feed that life, whose head hangs so heavily over a woman's manger.
Exit Macilente. Enter immediately Fallace and Fungoso running. She claps to the door.
Help me, brother. Hot spotty, and you come here, I'll do myself a mischief.
Nay, hear me, sweet wife. Unless thou wilt have me go, I will not go.
You shall never have that advantage of me to say you are undone by me. I'll not bid you stay. Aye, brother, sweet brother, there's 4 angels I'll give you towards your suit for the love of gentry. And as ever you came a Christian creature, make haste to the waterside. You know where Master Fastidious uses to land, and give him warning of my husband's malicious intent, and tell him of that lean rascal's treachery. Oh, heavens, how my flesh rises at him. Nay, sweet brother, make haste. You may say I would have writ to him, but the necessity of the time would not permit. Cannot choose but take it extraordinarily from me, and commend me to him. Good mark, brother, say I sent you.
Exit Fallace.
Let me see. These 4 angels, and then 40 shillings more I can borrow on my gown in Fetter Lane. Well, I will go presently, say on my suit, pay as much money as I have, and swear myself into credit with my tailor for the rest.
Exit Fungoso, and we will just clear the next short scene, Act 4, Scene 2. Enter Deliro and Macilente, speaking as they pass over the stage in this flyby scene.
Oh, my soul, you wrong her, Macilente. Though she be forward, yet I know she is honest.
Well, then I have no judgment. Would any woman, but one that were wild in her affections, have broke out into that immodest and violent passion against her husband? Or, is possible...
If you love me, forbear. All the arguments of the world shall never rest my heart to believe it.
And they exit, leaving us with the chorus.
How light cure the deciphering of his dotage.
Oh, strangely, and of the others' envy too, that labours so seriously to set debate betwixt a man and his wife. Stay, here comes the knight adventurer.
Aye, and his scrivener with him.
And there we will stop. So yes, we return to this household of confusion. Macilente is bad mouthing me. How dare he? My fabulous clothes, Fastidious Brisk, and Fallace, being really keen on Fastidious Brisk, goes for him and wants him out. And Deliro, of course, doesn't want a rival of his wife, so he's not very keen on him either. And things, and Fungoso gets to be the go-between and gets money so he can buy more clothes. Which I think is the payoff to this scene that I really love. It's just that Fungoso, he's going to get to buy more clothes, so that he can keep up with the person he's supposed to be. It's this. I think it also helps with this element of the play is to think about this extended family that's going on here. You know, we've got Sordido, we've got the two children of Sordido, they've got the various relations all interconnected. And actually understanding that, I think, helps to tie all the pieces together, actually, because there is a sort of family drama in the midst of this, as well as all the random peripherals. Lynn?
It was just when you mentioned that about Fungoso, it occurs to me he's kind of not putting two and two together. Here's Deliro saying that I've got Brisk's lands all in mortgage to me. I guess he's borrowed money against them, and a bond for 50 and a bond for 100 and a bond. It's like he's massively in debt to me, and so I'm basically going to ruin him. And his brother-in-law is like, "Oh, money. I can buy more clothes." It's just like you're going down that path where you're borrowing money, getting yourself indebted, and making yourself vulnerable to financial ruin for clothes. Look how it's turning out for Brisk. Like what? I put that together, but
no, he's not making the connect. He just wants to live the life of Brisk because being Brisk is fabulous.
It is. It would be a really fun part because you'd always be busy. If you weren't on stage, you would be backstage changing clothes. So.
Yeah. And Fungoso similarly. I mean, it's a really interesting costuming question, actually, of how good is Fungoso's imitation clothing at each time. Is it just the same costume, or is it subtly wrong, or worse, or better, or just the wrong size? You were talking last time that maybe they deliberately make sure the actors are the same size. Well, maybe it's actually funnier if he copies the clothes exactly so that they don't actually fit him.
Yeah. So he's smaller, so he's kind of swimming in these big baggy clothes, or he's kind of bigger, so he can't quite get the doublet buttoned. That would be funny if it was the same costume, but it didn't fit properly.
It might be the wrong joke. It might be that we're substituting a fake joke for an actual joke. But
the fun of the escalating Brisk, that would be just really fun to design, particularly if you had a good deep stock of period costumes, that you could start with something pretty high end and elaborate and just keep raising the bar till it's just rainbows and unicorns and sparkles.
Yeah, where you literally have to turn the level of the lighting down because otherwise everyone would be blind.
Yeah.
Sarah?
I was basically just going to say pretty much what you two have just said, but I think you could also play with proportion as well. So you have exactly the same costume on somebody like ill-fitting, it's either way too small or way too big, but you also play with the proportions of the costume. So for example, if he has a feather in his hat, then the other one has like a huge feather in his hat that's like, so it's the same hat and it's the same color feather, but it's just huge, and and the lace on his cuffs is either like fabulously too long, or his ruff is really, really tiny and kind of, just choking him around his neck, so it's like, it's the same costume, but it's like the proportions are all wrong. Like it's not just the fit, but the actual, like the tailor who he's gone to get this copy is really, really shit at his job.
Well, yeah, it's getting a fake handbag sort of territory here. There are good fakes and there are bad fakes, and this is I like the idea he's a really bad fake because of course his family know the moment he walks on last act in his new clothes, and he comes on and he's expecting someone to say, his family to mention it, look at me in my lovely clothes, and they don't. In fact, they turn to the audience and says, oh, he wants me to mention his clothes. I'm not going to do that. And they don't. And which is exactly what families do, is, you think, look at me and my fabulousness. And yeah. So yeah, there's a family dynamic that I'm quite liking, that is holding some of these bits together in an interesting way. Okay, final thoughts time. Again, it's very difficult because we're still sort of in the trenches, in a text. But any additional final thoughts before we close the session? Alan, anything new to add?
Not really.
Okay, that's cool. Lynn, do you have any additional final thoughts to add to as we're into Act 4?
Yeah, it's just, me and Ben, we're like this. As I said before, and I will defer to wiser heads than my own, of which there are many. Cordatus and Mitis are just not working for me. I really find them annoying. But I would like to be wrong about that. And, the other thing is that despite the little episode with Sordido attempting suicide and then seeing how much people hate him and realizing, ooh, God, that's no way to be in the world, at which moment I found unpersuasive. My ongoing problem with this play is there's really no hint of kind of substance or integrity or redemption. I mean, Macilente is just grouchy. He's not really basically a decent person, which your malcontents often are, is that they have a kind of core of decency, and that's why the world makes them so angry, is because that's not how it should be. And I don't get that from Macilente. So everyone is so concerned with status and clothes and appearances, and everyone is so shallow and so self-serving. It's a little unrelieved, and I find that a bit of a downer, actually. So it's kind of sustaining the fun it's challenging for me because there's so little to admire, and so no hint of kind of redemption or decency or integrity.
It's all in the dog, Puntarvolo and the dog.
As long as there's a dog and the dog, that's just...
Yeah, so long as the dog survives. Yeah. And Puntarvolo I quite like. I think there's quite an amiable fool there who I quite enjoy. I want to see more of his wife. I want to see more of that relationship. That relationship interests me in so many different ways. Dan, you've only been here for this session. It's almost impossible to sort of get a sense of things. Any final thoughts to just throw in?
I don't know if it would have made such a difference had I been here the first two sessions, because this is just classic to me. It just feels angry. I get Jonson's satirical. It's supposed to be satirical and all, but I feel like it's just an axe to grind all the time. And whatever comedy there is, it feels just to be sort of mean-spirited. Like, I'm going to just critique everybody I don't like or anything I don't like about them, and do it in such a way that you have to follow my arguments, which is, the fastidious character should be what his name is, because he's very much in control of what he wants to see literally on the page. And I'll go into that more probably tomorrow after all this, as much as he wants to critique how he wants his actors to be acting all the time and how each character has got to be played. And then if you're not sure about that, you've got a chorus who's telling you how you should be feeling about this. So, or what you should, how you should be following the story. So, it's really good to read these plays, I think, and try to discover these things about it. And I always want to love a play whenever I watch it. And I feel like this would definitely benefit from seeing it on the stage, but hearing it, listening to it, and I've been just trying to listen to it, how it sounds and how it lands with me. I'm not connecting with the characters. It's like, yeah, I see some things I recognize in people, but it's not making me want to follow the journey if it's not going to draw me into liking them at all. So then you can say, oh yes, you're right, I've got to work on that, or I don't know, go along or laugh along at it.
I mean, one of the problems is, it's almost impossible to actually, it's a very good example of, there's no such thing as the play. I mean, the play doesn't exist because to put it on stage, you have to change it so much that this text ceases to exist. So, I mean, this is the thing. You've got to remember, we've got to cut at least 50% of the text to make this manageable. It is ridiculously long. And I'd have to say, I've being able to actually do some reading today and some reasonably chunky bits as well. I've really got into it today, just immediately by being given a character to play, and a character of which there is a lot to do. And I don't. Oddly enough, I'm not feeling it as dark and cynical as others were having it. Yeah, absolutely. There's satire and there's stuff, but it felt quite light to me, even with the hanging. I don't get to say that very often. We've had an hilarious stoning before, but not a hanging. So yeah. Briony, any final thoughts?
Yeah, this is such a weird one because I felt a bit more connected to it yesterday, and then today not so much again. I've been kind of like just touching it for the rude jokes that I'm sort of kind of getting, and everything else has kind of passed me by a bit. And I don't know if that's me or the material or the way we've split it or the characters that I'm reading. I really don't know, but yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. And I kind of like what Dan was saying about how he's micromanaging this. He's like, yeah, he's kind of absolutely glued to every single aspect in some ways, and like, yeah, I don't know, it's a really, really odd text.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing is as well. I think there's something about the way it's structured that I think will become clearer as we get into the next session and the session after that. Is that, we've been talking about the absence of plot, and we've just been presented with characters, and we're getting these little hints at plot points being seeded, and I think they're all now seeded pretty much. I think now plot starts happening. So we have this sort of problem. If we think of what we've done so far as effectively being the first half, on a structural level, it's a matter of how much of this can you trim out, condense, and leave an audience at some point with an interval going, right, we're going to go into something happening in the second half. And it's whether we can get that across. So that might be the big structural problem with this. Not that it's too long or there's too much material or the jokes are repeated too often. It's actually that we wanting to have an interval at a certain point in the action, we haven't quite got enough action yet. It's just the first half has to be so funny moment by moment, rather than because we want to care about characters or what those characters are doing, and whether that panoply it can be done well enough. And that's very much down to the acting company and the characters that perhaps you throw at it. Sarah, any final thoughts?
Yes, I think I'm changing my mind about what to do with this play. I don't think I'd cut any of it at all. I think I'd just put it on YouTube in scenes, like as little individual like sketches, because they're all really funny. They all have something, and it could be one of those little bite-sized things where you just kind of, you watch it for a couple of minutes and you're mildly entertained. I mean, I'm thinking about, like, there's a lot of modern satirists, who I probably shouldn't mention because that might be advertising, but there's a lot of modern political satirists who work on YouTube who, if you were to watch like half an hour of them, it would be too much. It would be way too much. That they're funny because their sketches are 5 minutes long. And it works really well, for that format. And I think this would actually work really well for that format. And yeah, a lot of it is cynical, but it is also kind of frothy. A lot of the characters are very frothy and fun, and so I think if you were to just release it in little increments, it would actually be hilarious, and it would probably build up quite a following because it is ridiculous. And silly and funny. And if you released it in like little increments, you wouldn't have this need to be emotionally invested in the characters or like any of the characters, which I think if you're going to sit through an evening of theatre, you do have to have. There has to be a reason. There has to be something that makes you stick to your seat, and possibly
laughter,
just a joke.
laughter.
Well, yeah, but it's like I was saying yesterday, I think it all might be a bit too much, like one after the other, after the other, after the other. But But if you chopped it up and released it piecemeal, I think you might have a hit on your hands here actually. So yeah, I'm actually now thinking, yeah, don't cut it at all. Just do it in a different format.
I mean, as a serial, maybe thinking of it as a series, essentially a series of episodes, that might work. The other thing is actually to radically rethink the material and say, look, we've got an interesting family plot arc here, and an awful lot of other stuff, and actually maybe there's a core play within this play that could actually function. I've been resistant to removing of Mitis and Cordatus, but yes, I think we've got to the point where actually yes, they probably could be entirely excised, and the play would survive that. I don't think that they're as integral as they could be. So there's lots of options. I'd say I'm quite interested in the Sordido Sogliardo not quite relationship, but the sort of contrast between them. We've got two brothers. And one of the brothers has this child who is fascinated with this other person, and there's part of me sort of wondering, is there a way of sort of, because what Carlo does sometimes, I'm sort of wondering, well, if Carlo's teaching Sogliardo, well, wouldn't it be more interesting perhaps if actually it was Fastidious was teaching Sogliardo? Wouldn't that make, in a sense, more sense? And I'm just wondering whether there's a conflation and reduction, and there's actually a neater story in there that could be carved out. Because, as I say, you can carve this meat in so many different ways because there's so much material. And that's gives us so many options in a way that a play that is shorter and more fully formed doesn't. You can just say, here's a play, we quite like it, put it on. This gives us options. Any other final thoughts? I think I've gone around everyone. Okay. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.